Over the last year or so, a nearly absurd amount of fantastic cameras and lenses have been released. So today I thought it would be fun to check in with some of my YouTuber friends to see what camera gear they're using to shoot their videos in 2021. Let's get undone.
Gerald Undone.
Dun dun dun, he's crazy.
Wow, that was pretty good.
What's happening, everybody? I'm Gerald Undone, and welcome to Jurassic Park. So there's not much to disclose about today's video other than that this video is sponsored by Storyblocks. Actually, let me just tell you about them real quick so that we don't interrupt the flow of the rest of the video. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you could really use some footage, but shooting yourself would either be budgetarily or logistically unfeasible? Well, Storyblocks has you covered with an impressive collection of stock footage covering a wide range of subjects with unlimited downloads and 4K video. They're also amply supplied with backgrounds, overlays, and After Effects templates, and the interface is easy to use and navigate, and the clips are royalty-free for both personal and commercial use, so you can use them as much as you want, wherever you want. So if you think you could take advantage of a fantastic library of quality stock footage and effects, check out Storyblocks using the link in the description below. All right, now let's see what everybody else has to say.
Howdy, Caleb Pike here, and for my A-roll setup, I'm using kind of a weird camera and lens combination. For the camera, I'm using the Panasonic S1. For the lens, I've got a Canon 20-40-70 f2.8, I believe it's the second version. For audio, I'm rocking the Sennheiser MKH416 run into a Sound Devices Mix Pre 3. Otherwise, we just have some aperture lights, some sound blankets, and some set design, and that's pretty much my setup.
For my videos, I use the Sony a7S III with the Sony 24mm 1.4, and that camera is on the iFootage Shark Slider Nano. And as you might be able to see, I do have a B and C camera over here, and both of those are Canon EOS Rs. One of them has the Sigma 24mm 1.4, and the other has the Canon RF 50mm 1.8. And when it comes to audio, I typically use the Rode VideoMic NTG, but sometimes I will use the Rodecaster Pro as an external recorder so I can connect an XLR microphone like this Rode NT1, and that is a great setup for NT1.
So Gerald, you want to know how I film myself? Is that right? I'm using the Sony FX3 and the 20mm 1.8. I chose the FX3 because I love how convenient it is. Not only am I able to connect my Sennheiser MKE600 mic directly to the XLR handle, so I don't have to sync the audio in post, but the handle is powered by the camera itself. I'm using the DesView wide-angle teleprompter and the Ninja V to monitor myself. I shoot all my videos S-Log3, 24 frames per second, 10-bit 422.
For the main camera, I use Sony A1 because I really like the 8K resolution. It has variable shutter, and for this scenario, I like the tilt screen. And on top of that, I use APS-C crop while I'm shooting in 4K, and overall, it is a fantastic camera. For the lens, I use 50mm f1.2 G Master lens by Sony because I really like the shallow depth of field and the field of view. And for microphone, I have an XLR K3M on top of my setup, and that is connected to my Sennheiser MKH50 P48, and I think it just sounds fantastic.
At some point in this video, I was going to tell you what gear I was using, but it would seem that iPhone Doe and his magical length-changing hair is using the exact same setup. That damn copycat. I too am filming on the Sony A1 with the XLR module and the Sennheiser MKH50. Some differences though, I record into my Zoom F6 and use the XLR module in the camera as a backup or scratch audio, or for live streaming. I also prefer the Sony 35mm f1.8 lens for this shot, not too unlike our next contributor.
So I don't really have a setup which is always the same. I tend to mix and match, but there are some constants. There will generally be a cat. In this case, it is my lovely Bertie, and it will be a Sony camera normally. Here it is, the A7S III, which I've been using for most of the time, although I will be switching to this just received Sony A1. The constant is the lens, which is almost always the 35mm 1.8 from Sony, which is really lovely, and audio is almost always from the Tentacle Track E, the Sanken Cast 11 microphone plugged in. I do have a top mic on top of the camera, but generally the audio is from here. That's just for sync.
Mine's going to be different from a lot of YouTubers because I don't use a studio. It kind of encourages us to go out and shoot in the field as much as possible. And we try to shoot the episodes with the camera we're reviewing when possible, but sometimes they only send one camera. We're doing a lens review. In those cases, my favorite camera is the Panasonic S1H. I use the Panasonic 24-70 2.8. I love the Sigma version of this as well. Our audio setup is super basic. I've been using a Rode Wireless Go 2. And we're just using the Rode Go capsules. I stick them underneath with Rycote stickies. There's your thumbnail right now, Gerald.
So what kind of gear do I use? It really depends on the job because it's all about using the right gear for the right job. But this is probably what I use the most often. It's a Husky 1.25 pounds and it's great. It's the perfect way to go. But if your piñata is a little bit more than 3 feet, then I would definitely go for the 4-pound version. If you look at the radius of the damage of the 4-pounder.
No, they want to know about your camera gear, not your piñata killing gear.
Oh, that's easy. Canon C70 16-35 f4. I like the f4 because of the optical image stabilization. I also run it through a speed booster, and I have the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus up top, and also usually the Peak Design travel tripod.
All right, so this is the Red 8K Monstro sensor, huge sensor, and in front of that is Sigma's 24-35 Cine lens at about 28 mil, so not all the way wide, but pretty close. Then in front of me, right below the shot, is Sennheiser's MKH416 shotgun microphone, which is recording into a Sound Devices 633 to an SD card. Then there's an RE Sky panel to my right, some fill, practicals, and the rest is just set. That's it.
Yo, Josh, yo. Okay, so what you're looking at is the Sony a7S III. We have a Sigma 24-70. Over here, we have a regular nondescript monitor. I'm actually recording the video signal to the Atomos Shogun, and I'm doing audio separately. Audio, this is a Sennheiser MKH416, very expensive mic. We have a boom pole. This is hooked up through a MixPre 10T. The video and audio are being married together in the Atomos Shogun Inferno. That way I don't have to sync audio, but I also get XLR input audio. I know, it would be much easier if I just shot on an FX3 and then I could probably just get rid of half this stuff. So this is the Orbit. This is how I get those like really nice sweeping commercial shots. Same camera, a7S III. It's also tethered into the same setup as before. I have an HDMI cable going there. It doesn't seem to affect the Orbit at all. And I have the microphone right here. Same game, except now it's a moving shot. It gives that nice cinematic quality. And if Gerald ever makes me do another one of these videos again for his channel.
Operators are standing by. The Marble Orbit can be yours for 140 easy payments at $9.99. Don't wait, call.
Gerald, my feed cut out. Gerald, hello? Gerald, hello?
Hey Gerald, how's it going? Tom Green here, shooting this on my a7S III Sony with a Sony Hot Shoe shotgun microphone and a Sennheiser Lav that I have taped under my shirt. I've got a 16-35 millimeter G Master lens, and I've been traveling around in my van. I'm shooting in my van and going all over. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can see all the stuff I've been doing. By the way, this is Charlie. This is my doggy Charlie. Hey Charlie, how you doing? What's going on? Charlie's having a little food. So there you go, on the road again. Thanks, Gerald.
The current setup that I got here in the studio to shoot my talking head videos is the a7S III together with the 24mm GM lens or the 16-35 2.8 GM lens as well. And as for my main audio source, I'm using the Rode VideoMic NT-G.
Gerald, thanks so much for letting me be a part of this, man. This is my general A-roll setup. I am on vacation right now, so I'm not like in my studio, but it is the same thing that I always use. 17-28 Tamron lens. Body is the Sony a7S III, and then my microphone is the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus. That's my A-roll setup. Normally I would be shooting with a variable ND, but I didn't bring it on this hike. That's why we're at 1/2500th of a second shutter here.
I'm using a Sony a7S III for my camera, 20mm 1.8 for my lens, Deity D3 Pro shotgun mic on top of my camera as a backup, Shure MV7 as my main microphone mounted with a Zhiyun quick release plate directly to the MixPre 3, And then for my light, it's a 1x1 flexible LED panel with a D-Fuse foldable softbox with small rig ball and arm, so that way I can rig and mount the light wherever I please and fit all of this kit inside of a backpack.
Hey, my name is Jesse Driftwood, and this is my most frequently used A-roll setup. It is the Canon C70 with the Sigma 20mm f1.4 on the speed booster. Mostly I'm running this kind of makeshift friction arm setup into whatever on-camera shotgun I'm using at the time. This is the Sennheiser MKE 400. But if I really want you to hear what I'm saying, I'll reach over for this, the Shure SM7B, which is running into a MixPre 6, running straight into my MacBook. This is the setup I've been using for quite a while now, and it's about to change again just because I'm switching from the C70 over to the Sony FX3 because I wanted something smaller.
Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I have absolutely no consistency when it comes to A-roll. I'm always bouncing around different setups, but a camera setup that I keep coming back to is this Fuji X-E4 and the 16-55 f2.8 Fuji lens. Now, for audio, I am using the VideoMic NTG by Rode directly into the X-E4. Nothing crazy, nothing snooty.
The camera you're looking at right now is the Sony a7S III with the Sigma MC11 adapter and the Sigma 35mm f1.4 lens with an EF mount, so I can use it with my Blackmagic stuff. And I just like the versatility of EF mount instead of just going native Sony. So with this lens, there's a bit of breathing there happening, so I try not to move too much. For my audio, everything is routed into the separate mic arm with this AKG boom shotgun microphone and my Zoom H5.
We're shooting with the Sony a7S III, and we shoot all of our videos in S-Log3.
We've got a 24-70 f2.8 G Master lens.
Sometimes we use the 24-1.4, depends on who's sitting here and what we're shooting. Up top, we have the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus. The camera sitting on top of a Peak Design travel tripod. We've got the Aputure 120D Mark I right here with a newer softbox on it, and that's attached to a light stand on wheels. So this little highlight here is from the Godox VLC 150. I actually bought that because Gerald did a review on it and it looked good, so I bought it.
Guess what she's put in these lanterns? She's using Hue light bulbs that have lines in every single one of her videos.
It is what it is.
There you go.
For my camera, I use the Sony a7S III. That's probably going to be a surprise to many people. I use the Zeiss FE 55mm f1.8 as my lens, and for my mic, I'm using the Schoeps CMIT 5U, going straight into the camera via the Sony XLR K3M.
For the camera, I'm using the Sony FX6. For a lens, I'm using the Sony 24-70 G Master 2.8. For audio devices, I'm using the MixPre 3 Mark II. And for sound on my microphone, I'm using the Audio-Technica AT405 3B.
I'm Rene Ritchie, and I'm shooting this A-roll right here on a Canon C500 Mark II camera with a 25-70mm lens set at 70mm, because not only is it across the table from me, but without a lot of compression, I just end up looking like Dobie the house elf. I have a Sennheiser MKH416 microphone just exactly right out of frame with an Aputure 300D here and Quasar Science tubes here, here, and back there. And I know there's just an appalling lack of purple, but it turns out Gerald copyrighted that in Canada, and there's nothing I could do. Nothing.
I use the Sony a7S III with a 24-70 G Master lens. I have the Sony XLR hot shoe that connects directly into the a7S III, and for audio, I do record directly to the camera because I hate syncing audio. And for that, I use the Sennheiser AVX wireless system.
I'm shooting on the a7S III right now with the 55mm Sony Zeiss f1.8. Audio is the Rode NTG5 going into the Saramonic SR Pax 1.
So I use 3 of these. This is the Panasonic Lumix S5. I shoot in 4K 30 frames per second in Vlog. For audio, I have the Shure SM7B that is plugged into a cloud lifter, plugged directly into the hot shoe accessory called the DMW XLR1. For lenses, I use the 35mm Sigma f2 lens, which is amazing, and I have a teleprompter that probably was a little over 30 seconds. 30 frames per second is better.
I don't know why Gerald picked me for this because most of my video setup is crap, but I'm proud to show it to you. I've got no-name, no-brand soft boxes that I bought when I was starting out on YouTube, and it still holds up. They have super luxurious, heavy-duty Philips light bulbs inside them. And the best part is, even if you break it, it won't break your heart. Guess what? I did it, but duct tape all the way. Also, I'm shooting this video with my precious Sony a7 III with a 24-70 2.8, I think it's a G Master lens, with a VideoMic Pro on top, and that's just for scratch audio or backup audio. And for the main audio, I gotta tell you, microphones are my hobby, and I've tested several ones. Right now, I'm testing the Neumann U87AI high. For the most part, I've also used the Neumann TLM102 because it's incredibly compact with exceptional audio quality, and look at it. It's just a piece of art. The audio is going straight into Focusrite 8i6 audio interface, and from there, the computer.
I shoot on the A7S III. Literally like the perfect camera right now, I feel like. I monitor myself with an Atomos Shogun. I use the Rode Go's, and I actually just got the like Go 2s where you can hook up 2 different mics to 1 receiver, which is awesome. I also really want the FX6.
Jared pulling Frono's Photo. .com, and here at the Fro Factory, we've switched over to using Canon EOS R5s and RF Canon glass for our main shooting cameras. Now the camera that I'm using right now on this set is the R5. We've got a 50-1.2 on it at 1.2, and we're shooting in 4K HQ mode, which we absolutely love because it's 8K downsampled to 4K and allows us to punch in and keep super clean, nice, sharp, beautiful color, high contrast, because I love high contrast. I make our guys pump it up just a little bit. And we've been really happy with the results that we've gotten them for almost a year of use. Now we also use the Sennheiser G3 wireless lav packs. That's what we've been using for years. We've got a bunch of Kino flows for lightings. We've got aperture lights. We've got a bunch of other little things that we do, of course, on the backgrounds. And that's what we've got here at the Fro Factory.
One second. So my whole YouTube A-roll setup is based around not needing to set anything up. I've got it all built on a rolling C stand. So the mic, the camera, the lighting, everything ready to go. For the camera, I'm using a Sony a6100 with the 24mm f1.8. And this camera has all the features I need for a setting like this. HDMI out to the Atomos Ninja 5, which I'm recording ProRes to an SSD because I find that's the best workflow. And for audio, I'm using a Deity D3 Pro plugged directly into the camera. And for lighting, I'm using an Aputure 120D with a Light Dome Mini and grids on that. And the light behind me is actually a Nanlite Pavo tube. Yeah, everything's set up all the time. Just hit record, good to go.
Hey, it's Valentina V. Thanks for having me. Even though I'm not technically a YouTuber, this is the setup that one would see if you were to call me on Zoom. It is an A7S III with a 35mm f1.4 lens, with a Tiffen half pearlescent filter on it. I find that the pearlescent filter just gives it a little bit more softness, makes it look less digital, gives halation to the highlights, and just makes it look really nice. For audio, I have a Deity S Mic 2, which is right here. Again, super overkill. It's going into an old ass, busted ass H4n from Zoom. I got it used with the actual microphone on it broken, which is fine because I only ever really use it as a recorder, or as, in this case, as a pass-through device. So I usually don't even have a card in there or in my camera. I will just use them as pass-through devices into OBS, into Virtual Cam, so that I can stream.
So this is my desk webcam-esque setup for tutorials and quick, lazy reviews. So I've got capture cards and games all over the desk for products I'm working on. I've got the Sony a7C 24mm GM lens at f1.4, RE20 black microphone from Electrovoice. The video is run into a Ninja V and then a capture card in my computer. The microphone is run into an Audient Evo 4.
So for my videos, I use the Sony a7S III. In fact, I love that body. I have 3 of them. I'm also using the Sony 35mm f1.8 off of your recommendation from a video you did a long time ago. And I'm also using the Sennheiser MKH416 for my audio into the Mix Pre 3 Mark II.
For my talking head, I use a Canon 6D Mark II with a Sigma 35mm lens. On that lens is a Moment Cine Bloom filter, 10%. 2 microphones are up here. Deity D3 Pro goes into camera. Rode NTG5 goes into the Zoom H5 recorder.
I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my A-roll setup. That's the sentence. I am shooting with a Sony a7S III with a 16-35mm G Master f2.8 lens. This is at f2.8. In terms of my audio setup, on top of it, I have the XLR K3M, which I have the 2 channels linked together, connected to your microphone of choice, which is the Sennheiser MKH50. That was an expensive one to buy, and that's because of you. It's your influence. So, thank you.
Right, so I'm not at my typical studio setup back in the UK, but there I will usually use my Sony FX6 combined with the Sony 16-35 2.8 G Master for that juicy autofocus, along with the Sennheiser MKE600 shotgun mic boomed up in the top that goes directly into my Sony FX6 with that full-size XLR input. But at the moment, I'm traveling for work. So I've got the Sony a7S Mark III, along with that 16-35 with the Deity D4 Duo mic. Because, you know, I like to do a bit of vlogging because I think I'm cool. I'm not, but I try to.
Hi everyone, I use a Sony a6400 to film most of my A-roll and B-roll too. It's got great quality 4K, unlimited recording and very reliable autofocus. And I film under natural light with a Sony E24mm f1.8 lens. So for general use like this, it's a 35 equivalent, but that lens also provides very shallow depth of field effects. And more importantly for my B-roll, it lets me focus really close to the products that I'm talking about. And for audio, I generally use a Rode NT USB that's connected to my MacBook Pro, and I sync the audio from that in the edit. But if I'm out and about or just feeling a little bit lazy, I'll use a Rode Wireless Go that I have connected directly to the camera.
This is my usual filming setup in my office, in my home. We are shooting on the a7S III today with the Sony G Master 35mm f1.4 lens with the Peter McKinnon Variable ND, the 2-5, and it's the Pro Mist because we love a good diffused look in this office, okay? For audio, we have the Sony K3M XLR adapter on top of the camera over here, and we've got a Sennheiser lav hooked up to it, and I always forget the name of it. It's the EW100 G3 lavs. And that is clipped to my bra underneath my t-shirt, so you cannot see it.
I use the Sony a7S III with the Tamron 28-75 f2.8, and that lens is on my camera 90% of the time. For my microphone, I use the Rode NT-G3 plugged directly into the Deity HD-TX, and that's a wireless plug-on transmitter and recorder, and I record directly into the unit to keep things simple.
I really like using the Sony FX3 with the 24mm f1.4 G Master. Round about an f2 for a shot like this, and you can see in the background there's a little bit of halation. I like to use the Moment Cinebloom 10% version, just makes things look a little bit diffused, and I like that look. Audio, Shure SM7B, XLR going straight into the FX3 with the top handle which has the XLR inputs. I'm using a DM1 Dynamite preamp, looks like a little stick of dynamite, goes between the XLR cable, and the handle just boosts the levels a little bit, which you need to do with the Shure SM7B. Occasionally I will change to the Rode Video NTG, which is this audio, if I'm out and about, but for the most part, I like to use the Shure SM7B.
Now, typically I'm using my Sony a7S III for all of my videos, but because I just got done making a video about it, it's still here right on the table, but this is typically my go-to, paired with the Sony 24-70mm f2.8 gangsta mode with a Moment Cinebloom filter on the front. For audio, I'm using the Deity Interview Connect kit, so that's the HDTX wired to a Deity D3, picking up my audio.
I actually shoot my A-roll on a Nikon Z6. The original one. I have a feeling like most people here will be shooting on either like an a7S III or like a C200, but here I am on my Nikon Z6, and the lens I'm using is a 24-70. It's just your like nice lens that you could pretty much do whatever with. I've usually been using these Sennheiser AVX wireless lav. I've been using these for years. Recently, I've added these other wireless Sennheisers to my collection. These are the XSDs, but right now I'm actually currently using the Sennheiser MKE400 on this like boom pole system. Shout out to Caleb Pike because I just recently redid my whole studio to make it more efficient. Can't wait to see this video and see what everyone else shoots on.
All right, I think that's enough examples. A big thanks to all the creators who appeared in this video. I appreciate you taking the time to contribute to my little experiment.
Hello, good people. Let's get Novoselov. Nope, doesn't work with my name.
I don't know if you're having outtakes, but we might need some.
Gerald, I was told I was going to get the 3 a.m. to 3:30 spot. Hello?
So, hot tip, I guess.
That's it. Hi, Gerald. How are you? Thanks for having me.
You know, light things up a little fun.
Hello, Gerald, and all of the undones. I don't know if Gerald's gonna color grade this for me or if it's just gonna be in the standard Sony picture profile. no pressure. Like, please make me look good.
So hopefully this is of value to you and whoever is watching this.
Bye.
Goodbye, Gerald.
Goodbye, Gerald.
But that's going to be it for me. I hope you found this video entertaining, or at least helpful. And if you did, make sure to leave the old thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. But if you did not find this video helpful or entertaining, try setting the playback speed to 75%. Yeah, all right. I'm done.